Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Jamie, and this will be a reading for Gemini, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. If you're completely new to tarot, there are some rules. We'll start with the fact that a collective reading is not going to resonate with all of you. So if you feel like the reader is wrong or it's just not your story, discard it. It's not for you. Remember that there is no gender. Well, no sex. I'll pull cards like King, Queen, Emperor, and Empress, and the sex really doesn't matter. Those cards describe a very specific personality. You'll know who we're talking about. If you want to catch more Gemini readings, you could subscribe to the channel. It'll notify you every time I post, and of course I'd be grateful. I also offer a membership. If you want to check out the perks for that, you can click the join button below, and it just shows you everything I do there. I also offer members personal readings. So I'm not pulling on anything specific. I'll just let the cards start the story, and we'll clarify everything with the tarot, and in the end I'll grab some advice. Okay, so we have obsessive lover, my body, my home. I'm at peace in my body. My body carries me through the world, and I celebrate it. I am at home and fully present in my body. We have path, wander on the path less traveled. What you find might surprise you. And emotional dysregulation, extreme or inappropriate emotional responses to a situation. The overall energy is the Nine of Wands in the reverse. We have the Four of Pentacles, the Wheel of Fortune, the Four of Cups, the Nine of Pentacles, the Ten of Cups, the Four of Wands, and at the bottom of the deck, the Page of Swords. There's definitely a situation you're not over here with the Nine of Wands in the reverse and the Four of Pentacles. I mean, I feel like you're not out of it yet. You're not ready to let go. But I just feel like, it seems to me like there is a person in your life who, the two of you could be literally obsessed with one another, like, meaning that it's quite toxic and chaotic. So to me, it feels like time after time you've been disappointed, or you're always feeling rejected by this person, or you feel like they're completely apathetic to you. They don't care about what you want or what you need. And I think you stay kind of torn between staying and going. Is for most of you, I feel like, it's either that you have like children with this person or you've just been with them for a long time and you care about them. But I feel like for a lot of you too, you like literally share a home with this person. But I feel like here, like the challenge obviously is the opportunity for communication. You know what I mean? It's like truth be told is Gemini folk are excellent communicators. But if you're with a motherfucker who doesn't care to listen, it's not communication. You know what I mean? Like, just because you're talking doesn't mean that it's actually getting communicated. I just, I think that there's like a situation here where like, the chaos is all in this emotional area. I feel like the house is fine, the kids are happy. It's like something like that where like, things definitely look good from the outside looking in, but inside I feel lonely and rejecting. It's like you could be in a relationship and still kind of feel like you're the only one. You could feel like you're still by yourself, if that makes sense. Even if the person's like sharing responsibilities because they're not giving to you emotionally how you need. And basically when you need some type of emotional validation, you don't get it, you will start to have some pretty extreme responses to some small things, I like this here though because someone's clear that they're not perfect. That they just get like this sometimes where they, if their partner is not capable of meeting an emotional need, they overthink it. They may just get vulnerable to that. There's some type of insecurity with it. I also think somebody's kind of looking at the situation like, if I go out here and I get with someone else, it's going to be the same shit, different day, probably worse circumstance. Because it's stable, but it's not satisfying, and that's the issue. I also kind of feel like somebody here is wondering if maybe they are the issue, because somebody does kind of show up stable and like, if you're always feeling overly emotional, is it a you thing? I think it's usually a combination of both, because if we just try to place the blame on one person, it doesn't really work. Even if that person is ourselves, it might be a kinder thing to do than to place the blame on someone else. And it could have some reality based in it, like maybe I should just try to talk to this person instead of screaming at them, something like that. But I just feel like you and this person may be two really different elements, meaning like the two of you have some compatibility, but like you're not exactly the same. Like I think that this person is not emotionally stimulating for you, but they're also not like mentally stimulating, meaning like there's not these like long, deep conversations. There's not, I don't know, if it's not practical, they're just not showing up. And so it may even feel just boring, like I kind of feel like it's not just this situation alone, though. I feel like I'm talking to a Gemini who's been through some shit, in relationships, and it's like they haven't really moved past like that old pattern. This card would signify that there's like an extreme reaction to something small, but something small sometimes triggers something that was much, much bigger a while back that we just never really had the chance to heal from. I feel like it's a chance. I feel like life gets you too busy sometimes to take the minute to actually break down and move past situation here. move past an older situation here. Because I feel like how your relationship is now may sort of look a lot like that one did, where you're always feeling unloved. That made me sad. Okay, tell me more about the Page of Swords then. The Tower, the Ten of Wands, the World. At the bottom of the deck, the Six of Pentacles. Maybe actually all of your relationships have kind of been like this, where there was like that deep obsession with a person, but it was always conflict and chaos and overwhelm. And I think maybe relationships stress you out, you know, like in a different way than other things do in life. Like, if your relationship isn't doing well, you're not either. That's kind of what I'm getting here. And that's more the problem with the partner thing, is like you feel like maybe you're too needy, or like you just need too much from someone. I don't know. I feel like there's shifts of blame here. It's like I shouldn't expect my partner to regulate my emotions. I should be able to do that on my own. And that's true. But to some extent, it's not that hard for a partner to give some kind of reassurance, you know. So I do feel like somebody here is just aware of a pattern that they have, where they have a tendency to start feeling like relationships are one-sided, you know, like the other person is getting more from them than they're getting from that person. And I think this is really very much on an emotional level. So somebody feels like they either need that to change, or they got to change some part in themselves that makes them so anxious and obsessive. Like, you know, I'm getting like, say you've been with somebody for a while, but the person before that you were also with for a while, and maybe they were abusive as shit, you know, at least emotionally. We get stuck in that pattern and we bring it into the next relationship as well. And I think somebody's kind of looking at it like that's what they're doing too. Like they're bringing some past stuff into something new. They can't really understand why they get so dysregulated. But I feel like there's some trauma from the past that just still hasn't been fully looked at. And it seems like in the relationship area. Like, I think there's a tendency in your life where if you do have romantic relationships, they're just exhausting. Like you may feel like you are a better person when you're single, but then when you're single, you get lonely and you want that relationship again. And so it begins another chaotic relationship. So I think that somebody's finally waking up to their own pattern here. So to keep it real, I have really bad emotional dysregulation problems. I'm fucking terrible with it. And I work on it and I try to cope with it, but I also have a good support group. You know, I have like friends and people that I can talk to when I'm going through a situation, so they can help me to regulate the emotions, so that I'm not actually putting that all in my partner's basket. Because the way I'm seeing it is somebody's looking at their partner like they're a decent person. They're just not really emotionally satisfying. And sometimes we have to, you know, have other outlets of love, you know, those platonic friendships. Sometimes people get so deep into a relationship that they don't do anything else. They're not hanging out with their friends or family anymore, and they become too devoted to a person that's not even asking for that. You know, that's just their standard pattern. And so then there becomes this almost unrealistic expectation for someone else to handle your emotions. But I feel like I'm talking to somebody who already is kind of understanding this. Like they're aware. What's the advice here? The Lovers, Gemini energy, the Six of Wands, the Two of Cups. You are good enough, full moon in Virgo. I think that this is trying to reassure someone that they are like in a good relationship. Like, because what I'm getting is like somebody's aware that they may be putting too much in someone else's emotions basket, if that makes sense. Like it's just too heavy to put all on one person. I feel like the advice that I just gave is the advice, though, that you have to have like that, those other very interpersonal relationships with people that you trust, where you can vent to, so that you can regulate your emotion. But a lot of you have like deep insecurities and trust issues, and it comes down to, I say deep insecurities because this has to remind you that you're good enough, I think somebody's just lacking support in their life from the right people. It's like you could have friends, but they're not like necessarily people you would want to really tell your business to, or you could have friends, but they're so busy with their own life that they just don't really have time for your shit. It's, you gotta connect with people that you can count on during those times. But a lot of it is also going to be self-work, affirming to yourself that you are good enough for this person, and that they don't mean to invalidate you, or that they're not like rejecting you if there's a tad bit of distance. Sometimes other people go through things, they're exhausted. Because I feel like someone just feels so threatened in a relationship by anything. Like, partner comes in and they don't immediately come up to you and greet you. That means something, but it means something horrible. I feel like that's kind of the mindset that someone has, which is a little bit paranoid, but, it would be terrifying if you really are thinking the worst all of the time, and it's going to make for problems, obviously. Even if you didn't state them, you'll just be falling apart inside overthinking someone else's behavior or body language, whatever, So I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you guys soon.